And I knew immediately what I needed to do, and it was to revisit a talk, a sermon, an exhortation that I gave after my 9/11 experience. And so I found my notes, and all I'm going to do, and I apologize for this because it was how many years ago, I'm going to read you, I'll need to read you some of my notes from that talk. No doubt in my mind what I need to do. I was asked after the experience of being in the air, coming in to Chicago, or trying to on 9/11, being diverted to Newfoundland with 57 other jets, 14 or so thousand people on those jets, landing in Gander, Newfoundland, and spending 6.5 days in Gambo. Gander was full by the time our plane load got there, before we got back to America with my plane load, 418 people, 18 different nationalities, in one room about this size, in the middle of nowhere in that country. And so somebody asked me to write a little book about it. Let me just read you the opening paragraph. There's nothing like a crisis to really focus the mind on the things that matter. Flying back from Russia to the States on September the 11th, 2001, I was caught high above the Atlantic when the planes hit their targets. And we, the world, entered the new normal. That's what Candy Crawley was calling it by the time I did get back to Chicago. We are living in the new normal. That's what I call my little book. I had every reason to revisit my faith in a hurry and decide what I believed. Was God on my plane? Did he fly United? Or was he attending to some universal business in another sphere? Did he miss the incident altogether and have to wait to see it on network news? Times like this, we know we should have faith that God is on his throne, thoroughly cognizant and in charge, undisputed king of the universe. But if we're honest at times like this, we struggle with our faith. Where was God on September the 11th or on April the 13th? When the plane struck the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and nosedived into a field in Pennsylvania. And since that momentous event, and despite new and horrible cover stories of atrocities all over the world, people are still asking that question. Where was God that day? The world was stunned by the terrorism that changed our lives forever. Christians found their faith put to the test, and I was no exception. In those days on that Salvation Army pew, actually I was last off the bus, so I didn't get a pew. I spent it on the floor. I remember being reunited with my Bible. When the planes hit, my Bible was up above me, and I will never, ever do that again, because I couldn't get it. So it is since attached to my body wherever I go. But I remember having time, obviously, to ask God which passage of Scripture, and I was in Corinthians, that I read this. Because of the present crisis, and this present crisis Paul is talking about in the book of Corinthians was probably the persecution that was coming from Rome to Corinth. Terrible, terrible things happening with people being, murdered and thrown to lions and stuff like that. It was just beginning, that era, and it was coming down towards Corinth, and the church was waiting for it. Because of this, probably, present crisis, I think it's good for you to remain as you are. He's been talking about being married or single in the previous part of this passage. Okay. Now he says, it's good, I think, because of what is about to happen in this present crisis we're in. Are you married? Don't seek a divorce. Are you unmarried? Don't look for a wife. The word is hunt. Don't hunt. But if you do marry, you haven't sinned. Now, if a virgin marries, he goes into this. But those who marry will face many troubles, excuse me, in this life. And I want to spare you this. What I mean, brothers, is that the time is short. Thank you. From now on, listen to this. From now on, those who have wives should live as if they had none. Those who mourn as if they didn't. Those who are happy as if they weren't. Those who buy something as if it were not theirs to keep. And the word is not engrossed in things, basically. Those who use the things of the world as if not, oh, here it is, engrossed in them. For this world, in its present form, is passing away. And that picture word there is fabulous. It's the picture of an ancient boat with sails. That's all they had in those days. And this world, in its present form, is passing away is a picture word of a boat with its sail tied round the mast. When you do that, it slows down and slows down and slows down. This world, in its present, this was how many thousand years ago, folks, is coming to a stop. This world, in its present form, is passing away. And I'd like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife. There you go. And his interests are divided. He has a divided heart, in other words. He has a divided heart. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. I'm saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. I lived in that passage in those 6 or 7 days, and they came alive to me in a new way. Let me just touch on 1 or 2 things. I need to pray every day, give me an undivided heart. Give me an undivided heart. Because we are living in a present crisis. We just forget. Do you remember after 9/11, everyone went to church for 6 weeks? Do you remember that? Our churches were full. People fell to their knees, and metaphorically as well, and they came to church. And then how soon did it take for that to diminish? We're getting better or worse at how soon it takes for the atrocities that happen to diminish. I wonder if in Boston, I'm sure it will happen, it happened in Newtown, the churches will be full for 6 weeks. Okay. So give us an undivided heart that we may live in a sense in the consciousness that we are living in a present crisis. The world is coming to an end. The days are evil. We must occupy till he comes. We must focus on the important things. There's nothing like a good crisis to wonderfully focus the attention. I remember, apparently in my notes, I'd forgotten, when I got back, the papers were interesting. Drew Barrymore. Most of what I do seems sort of unnecessary, she said, headline in the paper. Me in Newfoundland, first time in months, something knocked Julia Roberts' love life off the front page, we were told. Students, when I got back, I was on 4 campuses, 4 Christian campuses immediately when I got back. Students were wondering why on earth they were focusing on the major they'd chosen, and they sought counseling to change to government studies, to inquire about the army, to look at ministry. That was happening all over our student, the impact of that campus. So when death intruded into our happy little worlds where we believed we had all the time in the world to do all the things in the world we planned to do, we expected to live to a good old age. But suddenly, the sober thought occurred to us that life was brief, as Solomon puts it. So brief. So brief. What are we doing in this crisis time? We need to reevaluate our relationships. We need to reevaluate our values. We need to reevaluate our prayer life. What on earth are we doing on our knees, or what are we not doing on our knees? And I believe that God allows that to come out for believers. What has this present crisis done for us and our ministry? You know, when we really live in that sense of maybe I've only got a week to live, what would we be doing if we knew? If we knew in this room, if I knew that next week maybe some of you would come to my funeral, what would I want to be doing? You say, well, Jill, you can't live like that. Well, I happen to believe we're in that part of world history where we need to have that sense of huge urgency. Huge urgency. Paul was living in a time when the present crisis it went on and on and on. And so it was easier to live in that situation. Stuart and I have the incredible privilege and challenge of being called and able to minister to the persecuted church in these last few years. And from Iran to Vietnam, depending on who is doing the persecuting, we have had the unutterable learning lesson to sit at the feet of people that really know what they're talking about. And I think in my head at the moment, in Iran at the moment, the 134 church leaders between 20 and 30 arrested on Christmas Day. Okay, all in Iran prison. Some of them are dead. Some of them are being tortured as I speak. Some of them are being put in boxes a little bigger than coffins. Pastor, that's been on the news, who is every month brought out to recant his faith and has refused. That is going on not just in Iran, but all over they are living in a present crisis that beggars the mind. And they're our brothers and sisters. We have some people in Afghanistan in that situation, and we were on the way there on Dallas Airport when we got a phone call, "Don't come. A young missionary has just been murdered on our front doorstep." And the Taliban claimed it, and they said they were going to kill every woman missionary in Afghanistan. When they set about doing it, got hold of 11 before we could evacuate everybody. That young woman and husband, who were with MAF, flying people in that country and charged with getting all the Christians and missionaries out of the country, couldn't leave. They had 3 young children. They were in Kabul. And Stuart knew them, I didn't. He put me in touch with them, and the young woman from Minneapolis, young couple, been in Kabul for 13 years with MAF. I got to know her, and I said, "Tell me about yourself. Do you have a mom? Do you have a mother?" And she said, "No, she died about 4 years ago." And I said to young Rachel, "I'll be your mother." And she said to me, all the way from there, "You are my mother and my sister. Tell America that." Ow. If she really was your blood daughter, what would you be doing? What would we be doing? This is our other family. We have 2 families. We have our own blood family, and we have the family of God, right? And they are in this present crisis. So even if we're not kept aware of all this, we should be on our knees, on our face, for our brothers and sisters over there. And so Paul just says 3 things, basically. He says, what you need to do is unclutter your life. Stuart touched on it in Hebrews. Those who buy something as if it was not theirs to keep. Those who buy something, a house, for me? No, for him. What are we doing with our homes? How many of our neighbors are we inviting in? Are we being hospitable to share the faith? Well, we don't need to do that. We have church buildings. Unclutter your life. Those who are crying should live as if they were not crying. Those who buy things should live as if they own nothing. He must think about 2 things, the man, pleasing his wife and pleasing the Lord. Now he is pulled in 2 directions, but we must all live in devotion to the Lord first and foremost. First and foremost, for the time is short. So happiness or sadness or wealth should not keep anyone from doing God's work. Paul says, all I want for you is to be able to develop a way of life in which you can spend plenty of time together with the Master without a lot of distractions. This talks about distractions. Of course, Mary and Martha come to mind. Martha was distracted by the work of the Lord, from the Lord of the work. And that's a temptation. We can be distracted from the very things we do for God, from the God we do them for. And how much time do you do for him? How much time have you been with him? On your knees, making a difference. We don't just go on our knees for our own good. We go on our knees to change the world, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing, because this world in its present form is passing away. So live single-mindedly. That's the underlying thing. Of course you care for your wife. Of course you look after your children. But it's a family for God. We're all living as if we should. The children, everybody, we. I remember Stuart sitting our kids down when we were in mission, before we ever came here, in our mission house in America, in UK, and saying to the kids, this family, the ethos of this family is service. We are a serving family. We're serving Jesus. That's the ethos. And so it's going to be hard. And it will mean that we will pay some prices. And for our kids, it was never seeing Daddy for 10 months of the year for 10 years, as he planted that mission all over the world. You can't do that from home. And I remember, I don't think it's a mistake our 3 kids are serving the Lord in ministry today. I worried all those years. They'll never marry a missionary. They'll turn away from the church, etc., etc. No. They actually said, it's hard, it's tough. Pete says, why is it always my daddy has to go? Couldn't another daddy on the mission team go just once? And I'd say all the right things with a nice Jesus smile, and inside I was asking the same question. But you know something? That's the ethos of a Christian family, or it should be, right? Because of this present crisis. So live single-mindedly, whether we're single, and if you're single, praise God, you can attend to the Lord's work without any blessed distractions. The kids, they're God-given gifts, but they're distractions. They can be distractions. And a marriage, a partnership, a relationship, any relationship can. Paul says, if you're single, this is your chance. Just go for it. Say, God, any place, any time, anywhere, what is it that I can do to make a difference? And so those who are crying, etc., I've said that, because the world in its present form is passing away. Just revel in him. Live single-mindedly, unclutter your life, and revel in him, because this world in its present form is truly passing away. I have shared with you, not for you this morning, but to remind myself of my 9/11 wake-up call. And I don't know about you, but it has moved me deeply as I've... Try doing something. Next time you watch what's happening and see the images over and over again, just get on your knees in front of your television. Try it. Sort of makes a difference.